Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is the Water Online Show Unfiltered. I am your host, Travis Kennedy, here with my illustrious co-host, partner in crime, Nadia Abboud. Nadia, man, do we have a superstar guest with us today?
We certainly do. And we're going to be picking up one of the hot topics for 2024.
It doesn't get any more top of mind as it relates to news in the industry than what came down just a few weeks ago. We've been waiting for this for a long time. It's interesting to see how the market has reacted initially. And now that that excitement and curiosity of, all right, so we have what the new numbers and limits around PFAS have to do, how they apply to us. What do we do now? Now it's starting to sink in. Oh my God, like, what do we do now? I need somebody to help me explain it practically. I mean, am I right, Nadia?
I'm right. And I'm looking forward to our guest today. We've got a solutions provider here with us who's going to give us some pretty interesting insight.
Yeah, not just a solutions provider, but we actually have the CEO and president of one of the Water Online's clients, newer this year, but a very unique business model that we're going to get into sort of at the end of the interview after talking about the actual topic. But please allow me to introduce to the audience, if you don't know who she is already, where have you been? So she needs no introduction. But Mirka Wilderer, I want to welcome you to the Water Online Show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Travis and Nadia.
So the first question off the bat, I'm going to make very broad and to the point. Based on what we learned about 3 weeks ago, and I think having been in the industry for as long as we have, it's one of those moments where you kind of remember where you were when you first heard, like,
PFAS.
Yeah, PFAS, right? So how surprised were you at the limits placed on PFAS MCLs just a few weeks ago? I mean, was there anything in there that you weren't expecting?
Yeah. So the limits that the EPA announced earlier this month really reflected a nice continuation of the policy that was actually communicated in 2021 when they launched the PFAS action roadmap. Which is amazing, right? It just shows that priority for public health and how fast in terms of regulation it came about. The initial surprise was actually more in fall when the draft ruling came out, and that's when they started talking about the 4 PPT MCLs, which that was lower than what any of the states had set in place as state regulation. So that was clearly part of and reflected, that priority of public health. When it came out a couple of weeks ago now, it was confirmed, right? So it wasn't a surprise at where the levels were. I think the only additions were MCLs for Gen X, PFH, XS, and some others. But it was really more the continuation and the determination of the EPA on going down this route.
I want to be clear when you mentioned, I'm sorry, Nadia, I want to be clear when you say Gen X, we're not talking about my generation. We're not talking about generation. There's not special rules or limits for that generation. It's universal.
There should be,
right?
Given some of the action.
Exactly. We are unique. All right. I'm sorry, Nadia. What were you gonna?
Well, I mean, it just kind of, Mirka, makes me think about, from the solutions provider standpoint, how difficult is it going to be to achieve that regulation? And knowing that it was set based on the health limits and the technical feasibility, that still means that the solution providers have to go ahead and put it into effect. And how difficult is that going to be? And is there any, in terms of the current solutions, are they sustainable?
Yeah. All right. So the EPA has laid out 3 best available technologies that they recommend. Right. It's ion exchange, granular activated carbon, and then reverse osmosis as sort of the go-to technologies. What I get asked a lot is which one is the best? Well, there is no one best solution to meet those requirements, but it really depends on the specific situation at one site. We need to understand, in order to select the right technology, what's coming in, what's the influent, what's the effluent expected to be at concentration levels, what's in the water, right? What other ions and minerals and nitrate, what else is in the water that could conflict with some of the technologies, and then what's my footprint, right? How much space do I have to deliver a technology? And so there's multiple considerations that have to go in to really understand what is in each situation the most applicable technology. How hard is that? I think with the for PPT, right, it's so low that it's also a challenge for the utilities to go from not having an issue to having a finding, a detection in an instant, right? And so monitoring is critical, and deciding the long-term operating plan, and how do we put in place a system that will work for long-term operations and maintenance of the system. So it comes down to what media will perform best at this specific site, and how do I avoid any breakthroughs. And so the diligence up front in doing that assessment, understanding the complexities of this particular site is really critical to making sure that the customer then has a system where they can guarantee or give their constituents, their communities, peace of mind that it will meet these requirements and ultimately, right, protect human health. And so for us, we try to encourage our customers to really spend that time up front. We call it concept to commission, working with the customers, analyzing the water quality, understanding, developing modeling around absorption, using different media to really understand what will work the best in each situation.
That concept to, what was it? Concept to
commission.
Concept to commission. I love that. How does that?
Unique. I've been heard.
Yeah.
I like that.
Now I'm just thinking of that C2C Music Factory song from the Gen X generation.
Right, of course. We're stuck in the early 90s. We can stay here as long as we need to.
But in that concept to commission, Mirka, how does that kind of tie into the time frame? So we have this regulation, utilities are going to have to go forward, and as they're making these technology assessments, is that a long process? Is it detailed? Is everyone going to make it in time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and so right now, we're in the phase where the utilities have to test their water. And then if they have a finding, they have until April 2029 to ensure compliance with either changing their wells or putting in place in treatment equipment, right? So we have time to work with the customers. And what we offer is, that we'll come in, we'll do the testing, we'll do the modeling. We can test up to 8 different media in our pilot units to then work with the customer to determine what's the best media. So we're media agnostic, which helps us to say what is the best media in this particular situation to then help the customer determine what's the best equipment to put in.
One of the things that I like to do on this show when we're talking about an issue, a topic, or even a solution is try and make it as simplistic as possible, mostly for my own edification. And if I work for a utility in any municipality in North America, United States, what I'm asking myself is, all right, so I saw the mandates come down. I saw the limits come down through the wire, and I understand what they are, but I don't even know where to begin. So if you could give me and all of our listeners some suggested first steps, and that could be step 1 and step 2, or just the very first thing you should do now that you're aware of what the limits are. So what would that advice be?
Yeah, of course. So I think a lot of people are in that boat right now, right? What do I do now? And so it all starts with testing your water and understanding what is in the water. Is there PFAS in the water? And if so, how much? And what is in the water? So once we know there is PFAS and the other chemistry around, then we can start step number 2, piloting, testing different media and seeing how that works in this particular situation, right? And so we can, again, as I said, periods, as we are media agnostic, we can test different concentration, absorption media to see in the situation which one will work the best. To simplify it again, right, we have ion exchange and carbon. And usually we say that ion exchange is more cost effective for drinking water than carbon. Why is that? The resin itself is cheaper on the carbon side, but it needs longer time, contact time in the bed. So you need more volume, and more volume needs bigger systems. So that's where, do I have this space? Do I want to put in a bigger system, or can I go with a smaller system that needs less frequent change out of the media? But then there might be other ions in the water that conflict with the ion exchange that makes that impossible or not. So that's what we're looking for when we're testing and piloting different media.
So it sounds like testing is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the very first step.
And then once a utility is moving forward, they're evaluating different solutions. Is there a way that solution providers are able to support them in their search for money? I mean, every regulation that comes into place requires another treatment system or a modification that then becomes a cost implication on the utility, the taxpayers. So is there a way that solution providers can help mitigate that or find solutions? What's your input on that?
Yeah, we typically work with our utilities around the SRF funding. So the state revolving funding, making sure that they know how to tap into that and use that lever for them.
Okay.
With that, I mean, a lot of what happens with municipalities comes down to money, because Nadia and I have been in this industry for a long, long time, and not once have we ever come across an overfunded utility or municipality, right? So would you be able to go just a little bit longer on what some of the monetary options might be? So I know there's SRFs, and you touched on those, but in the similar vein of taking that very first step, where would somebody go to even start looking into that? I ask because I have no idea.
Can I call timeout?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
I don't know either.
Oh, okay. So we'll strike that from the record.
Yeah. So we don't provide leasing options, or maybe we're thinking about it a little bit. Is there something we could do to help? But usually, right, there's infrastructure investment funds and financial institutions that are looking. We're not working with them, so it's not. I don't have a good answer for you either.
What about if do we feel comfortable talking about maybe water as a service? Is there a way for utility or solution providers to say, hey, we're going to give you a system and you're going to pay us such amount, and we're going to guarantee your PFAS is going to be at 4 PPT, or is that, I mean, because there's different ways of.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're early in that journey as a company. Okay. So on the smaller systems, we're evaluating would that be an option. But actually, what we're finding is to tap into their OPEX budget instead of their CAPEX budget. Yeah. But we're finding that it's actually not. I'm not getting a huge demand for it. And it's interesting that they can only do the privately held utilities can do rate changes when they have a CAPEX, not an OPEX change. And so we've actually gotten the feedback. No, I want it as CAPEX, not. So I think it's a huge world out there, and there's a lot of probing around it. I don't know that we have a good answer for it yet, and we can say that too. I mean, if we want, that's where we want to. I mean,
does it benefit you to be able to talk about that a little bit? Just the process that you go through. I mean, this is a platform. I mean, doesn't it?
We don't have any programming around it, so okay. I think it's more confusing than helpful.
Okay, all right.
Fair enough. So I'll just end it at I've never come across an overfunded municipality.
Yes.
Kind of leave it at that. Hey, it's all about money, and at least in the first steps of it, it's important to understand that. So I'm going to go right into the last question. This is where the fun begins for you too, because you get to talk about the company itself, your unique approach to personnel, how you approach the market, the benefits that you can offer. I don't have any set questions other than that. I was just going to give you the floor and sort of introduce you in a way that's, my understanding, getting to know your company over the past year or so has been, at least initially, was your unique approach to personnel. And then from there, I learned a lot about the types of services and solutions that you provide the market, and they are extraordinary. So why don't you dive into that? So that's how I'm going to lean into it. Is that okay?
Okay. All right.
All right, Bill, we're going to count down 3, 2, 1. One of the things I would be remiss if I didn't talk about today, because it is of value, and I know that there's some curiosity out there in the market about your company specifically. So over the past year, I've gotten to know your company very well. And there's one thing where I sort of started to look into what your company was all about, simply came from your name. And you have a unique approach as it relates specifically to personnel. So before we dive into all of the benefits and services and solutions that you provide and the benefits there. I want to stop and just talk about how you handle personnel and what your hiring practices are around the values that you wrap around those hiring practices. So, I mean, the floor is yours. Tell us about how you landed on that and what it is.
Yeah. So AqueoUS Vets was started in 2015 by veterans. And so the vet name is embedded there. But we also consider ourselves as water veterans. We have attracted talent across the industry with incredible breadth of experience and expertise. So we're water veterans focused on the U.S. waters. And that's what we really make our mission to protect the U.S. water supplies from PFAS and, by the way, other contaminants of emerging concern. We are very intentional about, diversity of thought and making sure that we have a very broad sense of the population. So over a quarter of our team is from some type of underrepresented group, whether female or people of color or veterans, and because we believe that you need that diversity of thought to bring forward the most innovative and creative solutions that we can for our customers, and making sure that we also disrupt the industry a little bit by being that unique and disruptive player in this space.
We love disruptors. The Water Online show and the Water Online community, we love disruptors. So carry on. Tell us more.
Yeah, and so we're focused on we're picking what we've all learned in the industry as the best practices on how to really provide customers with a unique and differentiated experience. We're a pure play focused supplier of filtration systems for contaminants of emerging concerns, and what we want to make sure is that we don't get lost in some of the processes that maybe bigger companies have to put in place because they're serving multiple customers, and we're stay laser focused on making it easy for the customer to work with, give them the peace of mind, and that expertise on for your particular situation, what is the best possible solution. So we're looking to solving today's PFAS challenges, and then also whatever else comes next in terms of contaminants of emerging concern, and we want to do that by offering leading edge technology, but then also that setting a new industry standard of how we work with the customers and that customer experience.
What can you tell us about the way you work with customers that's unique? Like, is there something that stands out that you feel is just really ingrained in the culture of the company, and how you work with them?
Yeah, so I think the customer focus starts, and we actually take pride of the concept to commission that I mentioned earlier, right? Not offering a one size fit all to all customers, but starting out with at the concept phase, listening and understanding what the unique situation is, and then developing a solution all the way through commission that meets that need. And so that, very focused approach on this every particular situation.
I mean, very focused, but also just very collaborative from start to finish, it sounds like, Mirka. So
yeah.
That's definitely a unique take.
Yeah, we recently defined our values, and we call them AB cares. And the care stands for committed. We're committed to solving this problem. We're accountable, for what we deliver. We'll work reliable. Excellence is a big one, and then safety. This being in a manufacturing environment, safety is always important for us. And so we really embrace, and it's fun to see how the organization embraces this AB cares. We care about our customers, about our partners, about our employees, and it also comes back to your previous question on how do we show up and how do we establish our organizational beliefs, right? That diversity of thought and unity in purpose.
It is fascinating. You're right. It is a disruptive type approach, but disruptive in a really good way. I mean, when you talk about disruptors in the market, this is the type of disruptors that we're looking for, right? Those that do it the right way, that bring a fresh new approach, like a breath of fresh air.
And they're remaining nimble, right? I mean, regulations are changing and they're still meeting the solutions and of all the utilities, which is wonderful.
Exactly. Exactly. So I wanted to take an opportunity to thank you for being with us here today. There was a lot of good information that you shared. Much appreciated. And I wanted to give you a chance to let our audience know how they can reach you. So if they want to talk further or figure out how you're going to be able to help their facility and municipality specifically, how can they reach you?
Of course. Well, we have our website, AqueoUSVets.com, but you can also always reach me, Wilderer at AqueoUSVets.com, and I'll be happy to engage in a dialogue and see how we can help in navigating this challenge, but also future challenges as they may arise.
Sounds great. You can also find them on Water Online. Mirka, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Much appreciated. And I know I speak for Nadia here as well. We cannot wait to have you back on the show. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And to all of you out there, we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us today. Bye.
Bye.